Today, in What's New in 22Q, produced by Stefan Elise for 22Q11 Europe, we're diving into a really fascinating area of scientific discovery.
Mm.
Our mission, as always, is to take complex scientific research and, well, unpack it into clear, valuable insights for you, our listeners, parents, relatives, individuals living with 22q11.2 deletion syndrome. We know you want the latest understandings.
And that's what we're here for.
So our deep dive today is titled From Mice to Human, learning more about the role of early vitamin B12 on brain metabolism in 22q11DS.
Right. It's quite a journey.
It is, from lab models right through to thinking about what this could mean for people. We're exploring a very recent, very intriguing study. It sheds some really exciting new light on brain metabolism in 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, and specifically looking at the maybe surprising role of vitamin B12.
That's right. Yeah, this is important work. It comes from an article titled Brain and Behavioral Anomalies Caused by TBX1 Haploinsufficiency Are Corrected by Vitamin B12. It was led by first author Mariana Caterino and her team. Published online just recently in the journal Life Science Alliance in November 2024.
So very current.
Very current. And it's truly, I think, a groundbreaking piece of work. It doesn't just point out a problem, it bravely explores some really critical what-if questions, What if we could actually correct some of these underlying issues?
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. Many of you listening, you're probably keenly aware that individuals with 22q11.2 deletion syndrome often experience, well, a whole range of brain-related differences.
Yeah.
Things like learning difficulties, maybe challenges with motor skills, and sometimes a higher risk for certain psychiatric conditions later on. But the exact biological reasons, they haven't always been completely clear, have they?
No, not at all. We often see the challenges, but the why can be more elusive.
Exactly.
And what's really fascinating here, what this study did, was look at an area that maybe hasn't had as much focus, whether changes in brain metabolism might play a fundamental role.
Brain metabolism. Okay,
Yeah.
So how the brain, gets and uses energy.
Precisely. It's essentially how our bodies, and in this case, very specifically our brain cells, convert food into energy, how they produce and use all the substances they need to function, to grow, to communicate.
Like the engine of a car, maybe?
That's a great analogy, yeah. If the fuel isn't quite right or the engine isn't processing it efficiently, the whole system doesn't run smoothly.
Okay.
So the researchers hypothesized that because several genes deleted in 22q11.2DS are actually involved in these metabolic processes, maybe there are specific metabolic imbalances happening right there in the brain.
That makes sense. So how did they test that? It sounds incredibly complex.
It is complex. They used what are called mouse models. These models closely mimic 22q11.2 deletion syndrome.
Right, I've heard of those. They're pretty standard tools in this kind of research.
Oh, absolutely, invaluable tools. They let scientists study these complex biological processes in a controlled way, giving us those crucial first clues about human conditions. And they looked at two specific models here. One was TBX1 haploinsufficiency mice. They have a deletion in just one gene, TBX1, which is strongly linked to 22q. And the other was DF1 plus mice, which have a larger deletion involving multiple genes, including TBX1.
So using both gives a broader picture, comparing the single gene effect versus the larger deletion.
Exactly. It was a really clever approach. It helps see if the findings are just about TBX1 or if they're part of the wider picture of the deletion syndrome. Makes the findings more relevant, potentially.
And what did they find? Was the hypothesis correct?
Well, yes. What they found was, I'd say, profoundly significant. In both of these mouse models, they saw a clear, consistent metabolic imbalance in the brain.
Wow.
Specifically, there was a significantly elevated level of something called methylmalonic acid, MMA for short.
MMA. Okay, never heard of it. Why is that important?
Well, it's particularly important because high levels of MMA are known to be brain toxic.
Brain toxic? That sounds quite serious. What does that actually mean? What does it do to brain cells?
Yeah, it does sound serious, and it is a concern. When we say brain toxic, it means high amounts of this acid can interfere with how brain cells normally work.
How so?
Specifically, it seems to disrupt their energy production, going back to that engine idea, and it can actually damage key parts of the cell structure, like having something corrosive building up inside.
Okay, I see. And was this happening all the time or at specific times?
That's another crucial finding. This MMA buildup seemed specific to the brain, and it was mainly evident after birth, during postnatal life, and into adulthood in these mice.
So not during embryonic development.
Apparently not, and not really seen in other body tissues either. This suggests it's a very targeted problem within the brain, and importantly, it suggests there might be a window for potential intervention after birth.
Right, okay, that's a key point.
Oh.
And was it just MMA, or were other things out of balance too?
Good question. It gets even more interesting here. Beyond just the MMA, the study also revealed, well, more general metabolic imbalances affecting other really crucial pathways in the brain.
Like what?
For instance, they saw significant disruptions in how the brain handles glutamine and glutamate.
I know those are important neurotransmitters, right?
Exactly. They're primary messengers, absolutely vital for communication between brain cells. If their balance is off, it can disrupt the whole neural communication network, like having static on a phone line, maybe.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything else?
Yes. They also saw issues with how the brain processes fats, changes in specific short-chain fatty acids.
Fats are important for the brain too, I know. For cell membranes and energy.
Absolutely critical. And then there were effects on other important compounds like inosine and adenosine. They're crucial for cellular energy transfer and signaling.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like a whole network of things is affected.
It does. All these interconnected disruptions suggest a broader impact on, well, how cells produce energy and how the brain signals overall. And this brings us back to the mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cells, you mentioned those earlier.
That's them.
So if all these key things, MMA, glutamate, fats are out of whack, and it connects to the mitochondria, what does that really mean for the brain's energy and function? Is it just making the brain sluggish, or is it more fundamental?
It seems to be more fundamental than just sluggishness. When the mitochondria aren't working optimally, it's like the brain's whole power grid is compromised. Brain cells need a huge amount of energy. If they're not getting enough, or if producing that energy creates toxic byproducts like MMA, it could lead to impaired development, communication problems, maybe increased vulnerability to stress or damage.
Okay. So these findings point to a really deep underlying issue with how the brain is fueling itself.
That's what the study suggests, yes, how it fuels itself and manages its internal environment.
But you mentioned the title involves correction. This is where the really exciting part comes in, right? The intervention.
Exactly. This is where the study shifts gear from just identifying the problem to actually exploring a potential solution.
So what do they try?
Well, building on the MMA finding, they tested whether giving these mice vitamin B12 could make a difference.
Vitamin B12, just regular B12.
Yes. And the results were quite remarkable. They found that giving B12 treatment after birth actually corrected some of these critical metabolic alterations.
Corrected them. How so?
Well, for instance, in both the TBX1 mice and the DF1 mice, the ones with the bigger deletion, those elevated MMA levels, they were restored to normal.
Wow. Just with B12.
With the B12 treatment, yes.
Yeah.
It indicates a really direct and, well, powerful impact of B12 on this key brain toxic metabolite.
That's amazing. But was it just fixing the chemistry? Or did it actually affect behavior too?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And yes, it wasn't just about the chemistry. The vitamin B12 treatment also rescued a specific behavioral anomaly in the mice.
Okay, tell me more.
It was related to something called prepulse inhibition, or PPI.
TPI, prepulse inhibition. Sounds technical.
Yeah.
Can you break that down?
Yeah, let's try. Imagine your brain has a sort of built-in filter for sensory information, like a spam filter for sounds or sights.
Okay.
So if you hear a sudden loud noise, you'd naturally startle or flinch, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a soft, quieter sound, a prepulse just before that loud noise, your brain should automatically dampen or inhibit that startle response.
So it helps you kind of ignore the less important stuff and not overreact.
Exactly. It's a measure of sensory gating, how the brain filters information. It helps us tune out irrelevant things and focus.
Okay, I get it. And how does that relate to TOBE2Q?
Well, this ability, this PPI, is often affected in individuals with 22q11.2 DS. The brain might struggle more to filter out irrelevant information.
Which could lead to sensory overload, maybe, or attention difficulties.
Potentially, yes. So the fact that B12 treatment significantly improved this PPI measure in the mice, that's a truly significant finding.
Yeah, that sounds huge.
Yeah.
It means it wasn't just changing levels of chemicals, it was actually improving how the brain functioned.
That's what it suggests, a functional, real-world impact, at least in the mouse model. It indicates an improvement in how the brain processes the world around it.
And when did they see this improvement? Did the treatment have to start really early?
Well, this improvement was observed in young adult mice, which is also really hopeful, suggesting that interventions, even perhaps after early development is complete, could potentially still be beneficial. It opens up a new direction.
This is really fascinating stuff. So B12 fixed the chemical balance, improved a key behavior.
Yeah.
Did they figure out how B12 was doing this? Any more clues?
They did dig a bit deeper, yes. So, besides restoring the MMA and helping rebalance other things like inosine, glutamate, those short chain fatty acids all connected to mitochondria,
Right.
they also looked at gene expression, basically which genes were being turned on or off in the brain.
Okay.
And they found the B12 treatment had a distinct impact there too, especially in the TBX1 mutant mice. It seemed to turn down the activity of genes involved in fatty acid metabolism.
Which might help correct the imbalance they saw.
That seems to be the idea. It provides a glimpse into the complex cellular and genetic ways B12 might be working. It's not just a simple plug-in. It seems to be influencing fundamental processes.
Okay. Wow. So bringing this back to our listeners, what does this all mean for, for families, for individuals with 22q? It sounds promising, but
Yeah, and this is the really important part. We have to remember this study was done in mouse models.
right. Crucial caveat.
Absolutely crucial. It's an incredibly important step, really pushes our understanding forward, but it is not yet a direct clinical recommendation for humans. We need to be crystal clear about that.
Definitely. No one should be rushing out to change anything based just on this.
No. However, this deep dive, this research, it highlights several really key areas that I think could open up new and important discussions with healthcare providers. It really opens a new door for thinking about therapeutic strategies, things that could potentially be applied postnatally after birth to help address some of the brain-related differences in 22q. It makes us think about metabolism in a way we maybe haven't before in this context.
So the first big takeaway is,
I think first, it really underscores the potential importance of metabolic health in individuals with 22q.
right, paying attention to how the body processes nutrients.
Exactly. It suggests this could be a really valuable area for discussion with your doctor, maybe a specialized nutritionist. Are there signs to look for? Could specific tests be helpful? These are the kinds of proactive questions the study encourages you to ask. It brings metabolism into the conversation about brain health in 22q.
Okay, and the second point, related to the B12 itself.
Yes. Second, while this study absolutely does not say, go out and start taking B12 supplements on your own.
Please don't do that without talking to a doctor.
Please don't, ever. But it does very powerfully highlight the specific role vitamins like B12 can play in brain metabolism.
This was a conversation starter.
Exactly. If you have concerns about your loved one's metabolic profile or their vitamin levels, especially B12, this research gives you a really solid evidence-based reason to bring it up with their medical team. They can help figure out if it's relevant to your specific situation, what the next steps might be, if any. It has to be personalized, guided by science.
Makes perfect sense. And the study showing that B12 fixed the MMA and improved that PPI behavior in mice. That's a powerful image, isn't it?
It really is. It offers this powerful glimpse, this possibility that targeted nutritional approaches might one day contribute to supporting brain health in 22q.
So it frames the conversation positively, focusing on exploring possibilities.
Yes, realistically positive, exploring personalized care. The idea that a relatively simple, accessible intervention could potentially make a meaningful difference down the line. That's the hope this kind of research inspires. And it encourages all of us really to think about those intricate connections. Diet, metabolism, brain function, they're all linked.
Often in ways we don't fully understand yet.
Precisely. And this kind of research is just vital for understanding the underlying mechanisms. That's always the first step towards finding more effective, more personalized, more targeted strategies in the future. The findings on glutamate, fatty acids, they connect to bigger discussions in neuroscience. This study is a critical piece of a much larger puzzle.
It really sounds like it. And this deep dive has been brought to you by 22q11 Europe, the European Association supporting families living with 22q11 deletion syndrome. We're dedicated to bringing you these kinds of insights, keeping you informed and connected.
And this study really does underscore the power of that dedicated research, doesn't it? Opening up new ways to understand and support people with 22q.
It really does.
The idea that, something as seemingly simple as a vitamin could impact such complex brain function, it's genuinely inspiring. It offers a really hopeful direction for future work, reminds us that sometimes answers are, hidden in places we might not expect.
Indeed. And it leaves us with, I think, an important thought to ponder. Understanding these specific metabolic pathways, like the ones highlighted here, it could really pave the way for highly targeted, maybe much more effective strategies down the road. What other hidden connections, maybe even more surprising ones, are waiting to be discovered? connections that could bring even more positive impacts for everyone affected by 22q11.2 deletion syndrome.
A very important question to keep asking.
Thank you for listening to What's New in 22q, produced by 22q11 Europe. Take care and talk to you soon.